Hello guys. In my previous video, I have presented an ideal case scenario for the October 2025 Visa Bulletin, and in this video, I'm trying to predict for worst case scenario, um, considering some numbers here. And trust me, it is not that easy to come up with worst case and best case scenarios in this topic, because it's highly complicated. And the intent here is not to provide a false hope in any way. It is just the way I could come up with the numbers based on the data available and the amount of information that is visible to us in this case. Um, as you all know, there are several unknowns in this matter. Okay, so all I am doing is as best as I can predict with both of these scenarios. Okay, so let's look at the worst case scenario for October 2025 Visa Bulletin on the employment based category from EB1 through EB3 other workers. On the first table on the top, I have predicted worst case scenario for final action date for October 2025 Visa Bulletin. And for EB1, rest of the world, I continue to see, even in the worst case scenario, to stay current. EB2, rest of the world, I'm predicting 1.5 months forward movement in the final action date chart for October 2025 Visa Bulletin. EB3, skilled rest of the world, I am looking at 1 week forward movement in the worst case scenario. EB3 other workers, I'm not seeing any change happening in this scenario for the rest of the world. EB1 China, I'm looking at 2 weeks forward movement in the worst case scenario. EB2 China, no change anticipated. EB3 skilled China, 2 weeks forward movement anticipated with the worst case scenario. EB3 other workers, China, no change anticipated in this scenario. EB1 India, for the worst case scenario, I do predict a retrogression for an year at this time, because the backlog is growing, and the backlog is going to mostly fulfill if it continues to grow like that for up until, let's say, end of September 2025. And when we see at the start of next fiscal year, which is in October 2025, if the backlog is grown to a level where all the new visa numbers for EB1 India, if it seems to be consumed by purely by the backlogs prior to the dates that we have established or seen in the visa bulletins today, it is definitely, there is a possibility that in the worst case scenario, the opportunity to retrogress there. Because this is one of the noise factor that we could never quantify how many numbers is going to contribute to this retrogression and how far behind we are going to go if there is a retrogression. But at least if the number grows in the amount that of or the trend that we are seeing, if it continues to be in that fashion, that there is a possibility of retrogression for EB1 India in the next fiscal year. EB2 India, in the final action date, I'm not seeing any change, date change on the FID at this time with the worst case scenario. EB3 skilled, I'm seeing 2 weeks forward movement in the worst case scenario, and same for EB3 other workers India. EB1 Mexico continuing to stay current. EB2 Mexico anticipating 1.5 months forward movement in the worst case scenario. EB3 skilled Mexico 1 week forward movement, and EB3 other workers, I don't see any change there in this scenario. EB1 Philippines continuing to stay current. EB2 Philippines 1.5 months forward movement anticipated. EB3 skilled Philippines 1 week forward movement anticipated in the worst case scenario. EB3 other workers no change anticipated in the worst case scenario. And this is for the final action date table predicted for October 2025 Visa Bulletin. The table below is data filing table predicted for October 2025 in the worst case scenario as well. So EB1 rest of the world continued to stay current for the whole year is anticipated like that. EB2 rest of the world from October 2025 to September 2025, the anticipation is that, from October 2025 to September 2026, the anticipation is that it will move forward 1 year for the entire fiscal year. EB3 skilled workers rest of the world, it is anticipated that 1 year plus 2 months forward movement for the entire fiscal year from October 2025 to September 2026. EB3 other workers rest of the world, 8 months forward movement anticipated for the entire fiscal year from October 2025 to September 2026. EB1 China, same thing for the entire fiscal year. We're anticipating to see 3.5 months forward movement. EB2 China, 2 months forward movement during the entire fiscal year. EB3 skilled China, 5 months forward movement for the entire fiscal year anticipated. EB3 other workers China, 5 months forward movement also anticipated for the entire fiscal year. EB1 India, again, we will see the date in the worst case scenario with the backlog. If we anticipate the backlog trend is growing like this forever, we would still see the dates go back also in the data filing table, if I'm not wrong. That's my prediction in the very worst case here, right? It could happen if that's the reasoning that is solid there. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's stay positive in this case. Let's hope it's not getting retrogressed, but this is again a worst case scenario. EB2 India, 2 months for movement for the entire fiscal year. And EB3 skilled India, 6 months forward movement for the entire fiscal year. EB3 other workers, same thing, 6 months forward movement for the entire fiscal year. EB1 Mexico will stay current throughout the year. EB2 Mexico anticipating 1 year forward movement during the fiscal year 2026. EB3 skilled Mexico 1 year 2 months forward movement anticipated for the entire fiscal year. And EB3 other workers 8 months forward movement for the entire fiscal year 2026. Philippines, EB1 Philippines staying current throughout the fiscal year is the anticipation here. EB2 Philippines 1 year forward movement anticipated for throughout the entire fiscal year. EB3 skill Philippines 4 months forward movement anticipated during the fiscal year. And EB3 other workers Philippines 8 months forward movement anticipated for the whole fiscal year. And this is again my best anticipation for the worst case scenario, and it could be wrong, it could be right, there is no right or wrong answer here. It is more about how we look at the data, how we predict it. None of the predictions are accurate in any way, because we have a lot of unknowns in this matter, and it is obvious that there will be inaccuracy in the prediction, and that's a known thing across the world. So this is my best possible prediction in the worst case scenario. And also you might have seen my previous video, which is the ideal case scenario, which doesn't consider most of the other factors. As far as I know, there could be other factors which I do not know that may affect further in this worst case scenario, but this is my best prediction possible that I could present. Of course, please, whatever the comments you have related to this topic, please post it in the comment section. I will try to answer if I know anything as best as I can. So if I don't reply to your comments, that means I don't know the answer. So I'm trying to find out if there is a possibility to find a best answer to answer you. It doesn't mean that I ignored the comments. It's just that I'm waiting to get some best answer for you guys. And when I have that, I will definitely reply. Appreciate your time and effort here in looking at this data with me, and also um, um, kindly share my YouTube videos and channel with your network. That way it gets more visibility and gets more attention in this way. Hope this helps in some way. Thank you for your time.